guys, it's Maisie again, and I'm gonna start reading The Boy in the Dress. Because I know I said I was gonna do it on my other account, but it's making only 1 minute and 7 seconds for me reading the book, and that's really annoying. And it did the exact same for my introduction. So, yeah, it's really annoying. So I'm gonna try to find out that, and then I'll start reading this. I'll read the blurb. Right, I'm just gonna get my reindeer right here. Get a little cherry panda. Grab your popcorn, and so because we're starting. Alright, Boy in the Dress. Let's read the blurb. Right, a great comic tale, Evening Standard. Surprising, sharp and funny, the first novel for children from the #1 best-selling author of Gangster Granny and Rat Burger. Dennis lives in a boring house, in a boring street, in a boring town, but he's about to find out that when you open your mind, life becomes anything but boring. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and once you've met Dennis, he'll live with you forever. Anyways, let's get started then. Right. David Walliams, The Boy in the Dress, illustrated by Quentin Blake. Chapter 1, No Hugging. Dennis was different. When he looked in the mirror, he saw an ordinary 12-year-old boy, but he felt different. His thoughts were full of colour and poetry. Though his life could be very boring, the story I am about to tell you begins here. In Dennis's ordinary house, on an ordinary street, in an ordinary town. His house was nearly exactly the same as all the others in the street. One house had a double glazing, another did not. One had a gravel drive, another had crazy paving, and one had Vauxhall Cavalier. I can't say that, so I'm just going to say Cavalier in the drive. Another had Vauxhall Astra. Tiny differences that had only really pointed out the samenesses of everything. It was all so ordinary. Something extraordinary just had to happen. Dennis lived with his dad, who did have a name, but Dennis called him Dad, so hold on, I lost my place. So I will too. And his older brother John, who was 14, Dennis found it frustrating that his brother would always be 2 years older than him. Bigger and stronger. Dennis's mum had left him a couple of years ago. Before that, Dennis used to creep out of his room and sit at the top of the stairs and listen to his mum and dad shout at each other. Until one day, they stopped. She was gone. Dad banned John and Dennis from ever mentioning Mum again. And soon after she left, he went around the house and took down all the photographs of her and burnt them into a bonfire. It's a bit harsh. Could have at least given them to her. Or maybe even given them to them. Maybe she did really break his heart. Maybe he broke hers. But Dennis managed to save one. One solitary photograph escaped the flames, dancing up into the air from the heat of the fire, before floating through the smoke and onto the hedge. As dusk fell, Dennis snuck out and retrieved the photo. It was charred and blackened around the edges At first, his heart sank. But when he turned it to the light, he saw that the image was as bright and clear as ever. Right, so take a minute and have a drink, because I need one. I'm going to quickly blow my nose, so I'm going to pause this for a second. Alright, I'm paused, and let's get back into the story. Oh, forgot to show you the picture, didn't I? Let me quickly show you the picture. Anyways, that's the picture. So, yeah. And let's find where it was. There we go. It showed a joyful scene. A younger John and Dennis with his mum at the beach, wearing a lovely yellow dress with flowers on it. Dennis loved that dress. It was full of colour and life, and soft to the touch. When Mum put it on, it meant summer had arrived. It had been warm outside after she had left, but it hadn't really been summer in their house again. In the picture, Dennis and his brother were in swimming trunks, holding ice cream cones. Vanilla ice cream smeared all around their smiling mouths. Dennis kept the photo in his pocket and looked at it secretly every day. His mum looked so astonishingly beautiful in it. Even though her smile was uncertain, Dennis stared at it for hours on end, trying to imagine what she had been thinking when it was taken. When Mum left Dad, he didn't say much, but when he did, he would often shout. So Dennis ended up watching a lot of television, and especially his favourite show, Trisha. But Dennis had seen Trisha episodes. Okay, let's finish this. Anyways, where am I? Where the heck am I? Oh, hello. It was daytime talk. It was a daytime talk show where ordinary people were given the opportunity to talk about their problems or yell abuse at their relatives, and it was all presided over by a kindly looking but judgmental woman, conveniently called Trisha. But for a while, Dennis thought life without. Oh my God! What the heck is happening to me? For a while, Dennis thought life without his mum would be some kind of adventure. He'd stay up late, eat takeaways, and watch rude comedy shows. However, as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into months, and those months turned into years, he realised that it wasn't an adventure at all. It was just sad. Dennis and John sort of loved each other in that way. That they had to, because they were brothers, but John tested this love quite often by doing things he thought were funny, like sitting on Dennis's face and farting. If farting was an Olympic sport at the time of writing, I am told it isn't, which I feel is a shame. He would have won a number of gold medals and probably received a knighthood from the Queen. Now, reader, you might be thinking that as their mum left, the two brothers were to be brought closer together. Sadly, it only drove them apart. Unlike Dennis, John was full of silent rage. With his mum for leaving and he agreed with Dad he agreed with Dad that it was better never to mention her again. It was one of those rules of the house. No talking about Mum, no crying, and worst of all, no hugging. Dennis, on the other hand, was full of sadness. Sometimes he missed his mum so much that he cried it in bed at night. He tried to cry as quietly as possible because he and his brother shared a room, so he didn't want John to hear. But one night, Dennis woke John up. Dennis, what are you crying for now? Demanded John from his bed. I don't know. It's just, well, I wish Mum was here and everything, came the reply from Dennis. Well, don't cry. She's gone and she's not coming back. You don't know that. She's never coming back, Dennis. Now stop. Crying is only for girls. Ugh. Now stop. Crying. Only girls cry. But Dennis couldn't stop crying. The pain ebbed and flowered inside of him, like the sea crashing down on him, almost drowning him in tears. He didn't want to upset his brother, though. So he cried as quietly as possible as he could. So why was Dennis so different, I hear you ask? After all, this boy lived in an ordinary house in an ordinary street in an ordinary town. Well, I'm not going to tell you why yet, but the clue might be in the title of this book. And that's a wrap. So let's show you the last picture that I'm gonna show you for today. And that's the last picture of him waking up to crying. So, yeah. Let's fold that page so I know what page I'm on. Anyways, bye. Hope you have a nice day. And, well, basically, just, yeah. Anyways. Bye. Hit the subscribe button. If it's red, turn it grey like my computer, which I've showed you in the past, which hopefully you guys have seen. Anyways, turn the bell notifications on, and I should be posting a bit more often now. So, bye. See you guys later. Have a nice day.